Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast.
Hi Krishna, welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast. You have Gopal Roy and you're with
Magdapen.
and we're here in our new Atma studio. Just here while we're renovating our Cafe Atma.
Yeah.
Making it a bit more of a wellness and spiritual, holistic hub where you can get help with everything, spiritual, material, metaphysical. Ben's working on a beautiful mural. How do you say it?
A mural. Yeah,
Mural
it's like
on the wall.
a piece of painting on the wall. But yeah, the whole Atma is getting a nice rebranding job. Like renaming it Atma Lounge. If you haven't been to Atma before,
Renaming Atma Lounge.
It creates it creates a cozy
We've got
mood in the heart.
We've done the floor. The floor looks much nicer than it was
It looks
before.
gorgeous, yeah.
Getting a few more plants in here. Bit of art on the walls.
Yeah, keeping it cool.
Yeah.
Opposite Poundland on Queen Street.
What was it, Poundland?
But yeah,
So next time you go to Poundland, pop in.
pop in.
We'll hopefully open next week. But when this podcast is released.
So, it might be this week we'll release it. We might release it on Friday. Today's Wednesday, so we're coming from the past, but not the distant past.
Yeah.
But we haven't recorded a podcast in quite a while. We were in Bath about 3 weeks ago, is it? So
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a while.
It's very interesting how you can, because now we're trying out these new headphones.
Yeah.
And in my headphones, I can very clearly hear. Reach it for the stars above.
It's the
I wonder if that comes out in recording.
probably it's the Capital Shopping Centre.
I hope you don't get sued.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I didn't
Right.
think about that.
So we're gonna.
We got the shopping centre background music.
Yeah,
But what more can you ask for?
nice.
It's blissful.
Okay, we're going to say some mantras now for auspiciousness before we carry on reading Sri Ishopanishad. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So pick up where we left off. I think, Ben, you read the first...
Yeah, we read one paragraph.
So we'll go to paragraph 2, right?
Yeah, I was talking about the sort of
Different destinations.
for people, good people and bad, godly people and demons. I remember.
Oh, yeah. Killers of the soul.
Killers of the soul.
Okay, second paragraph. Intelligent human beings must always remember that the soul obtains a human form after an evolution of many millions of years in the cycle of transmigration. The material world is sometimes compared to an ocean, and the human body is compared to a solid boat designed especially to cross this ocean. The Vedic scriptures and the acharyas, or saintly teachers, are compared to expert boatmen, and the facilities of the human body are compared to favourable breezes that help the boat ply smoothly to the desired destination. I'm just going to go off the sort of make a side point here. It's quite interesting. Prabhupada, when he's writing these things, it all comes from Vedic literature.
Yeah.
And this is actually referencing a verse. Now, I think it might even be, am I right? It might even be in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam.
It's over my head. Perhaps.
Anyway, it is in what we call Shastra. And it's so there's a few it's an analogy. So the material world, material life is like an ocean. The human body is like a boat. You're riding in this boat on the ocean. Okay, that's your body, and you're in the ocean of material life. Okay, that's a boat on the ocean.
Very visual.
So this solid boat is designed especially to cross the ocean. Something our Vedic literature says. This boat is designed to cross the ocean.
So cross the material ocean, is it?
To cross the material ocean, yeah. So if you don't use, it's like having a car. Well, this is a nice car, but you just park it to one side and just spend, hours and days in your whole life just looking at the engine and looking at the seats, but you don't actually use it to get anywhere. You know, so the wisdom literature of India describes that the body is a boat that's meant to overcome material existence. So the Vedic scriptures, the wisdom literature, and the acharyas, or the saintly teachers, and acharya is someone that teaches by example, right?
Leads by example, yeah.
And they're the expert boatmen. So a boatman, I guess he sort of navigates the boat, right?
Yeah, he guides does the navigation, I guess, is it?
Guides the passages and the facilities of the human body are compared to favourable breezes that help the boat ply smoothly to its desired destination. What's the facilities of the human body?
Yeah, I guess the human body, I heard it being described that the human...
Like looking and hearing and stuff? Or?
Well, anybody, like a dog or a cat or they can look and they can smell and they can do all these things. But I think the facilities we're talking about is actually the more...
Like contemplation
the subtle
introspection
facilities.
and stuff.
I heard Tygonath once said that the human body is more subtle than another type of body, which is quite interesting. Subtle meaning a more developed mind or a sense of intelligence. Whereas...
so these things are the favourable breezes.
Yeah, so...
That's really interesting. So you can use you have your contemplation and sort of introspection and philosophical ability. And if used properly, like if you set up your sail to be able to use these things effectively, then it can help you actually attain self-realization.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But without the boatman, without putting up your sail in the right direction
without the guidance of someone who knows these waters, so we're playing. A favourable breeze will help the boat ply smoothly to its desired destination. So I wonder what the desired destination is. I think we talked about it before. You said, you were talking about
it's over the other side of the ocean,
like
of birth and
Vaikuntha.
death.
No, Nirvana. You were talking about some stuff like that. Varna.
Varna, out forest.
Forest.
So nirvana means get out of the forest. Okay, should we carry on?
Yeah.
If with all these facilities a human being does not fully utilize his life for self-realization, he must be considered Atmaha, a killer of the soul. Sri Ishopanishad warns in clear terms that the killer of the soul is destined to enter into the darkest region of ignorance, to suffer perpetually. That's heavy, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is the killer of the soul is the person who's on his boat and just sort of hanging out on the waters.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess
drifting like.
You have people like that, isn't it? They have the really exotic sort of yachts. They're just sort of trying to enjoy the facility of the yacht, but they're not really going anywhere.
Yeah, I guess so. I was thinking more like. I don't know why. I was thinking of Castaway. Have you seen Castaway? Tom Hanks?
Oh yeah, Castaway with his little
With Wilson.
beach ball. Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, he got these crashed by all these waves and just. You can imagine trying to cross the ocean without all these facilities. It must be terrible.
But the killer of the soul
Is someone who doesn't
utilize all these advantages that the human body has, but instead just stays in the waters.
Yeah, and that's what it means. You suffer perpetually. So, that's why the ocean of material existence means suffering perpetually. You've been crashed by the waves. That's what it means. So unless you use it to get over the other side of the ocean of birth and death, the ocean of material existence, then that means suffering. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I've heard it described that this in the material world, happiness is just like a cessation of unhappiness, isn't it? And when I was preparing because I'm doing this big painting on the wall, like we mentioned, I was watching a lot of videos with like muralists and graffiti artists, street artists, people who like do this for a living, And there was this guy. He was traveling around Europe painting these really beautiful, big, bright murals. And he said like one day he was there and he was making his mural and he got depressed. He felt really depressed, but then he just spoke to himself and he said, actually, this is your dream job. You've always wanted to do this. And he talked himself, and then he said, then I felt really happy. But I was like listening, and it didn't seem like he actually felt really happy. He just managed to sort of talk his mind into thinking he's not depressed.
Yeah.
Do you know? So his idea of becoming really happy was actually just to sort of preach himself out of the depression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like,
that's what they say. It's a mental. It's not real happiness.
No.
It's a mental happiness.
Yeah.
Like if you think the example is given, like, you know, you'll have someone on the street or in a very sort of bad situation. He'll, you know, drink his bottle of wine, and then you got someone else who's in a very nice apartment, and they'll drink their bottle of wine. It's the same bottle of wine.
Yeah.
It's the same sense experience, but because the mind
it's packaged differently.
Compared to like, I'm like Srila Prabhupada used to say, you know, how advanced are human beings. You know, a dog has sex in the street, you have sex in an apartment. You know, the actual sex pleasure isn't that much different. It's just we build this whole idea, this whole dream world around us based on what other people think of us, what we are told real sort of happiness is. And I heard that, I've mentioned this before, but if you hit, I don't recommend anyone doing this at home, and I've never done it myself, but apparently if you hit a dog, if you beat a dog and you stop hitting it, the dog will wag its tail. You know, I'm happy now.
Yeah.
It's not real happiness. It's just, it's not being beaten anymore.
Yeah.
So I see a lot with, you know, students, and especially even most, you know, me and my friends, we used to, you know, you work hard all week and you look forward to the weekend. Like there's that Hard-Fi song, you're living for the weekend.
Yeah.
And then, so when the weekend comes, you've been working so hard all week that you just get intoxicated and you know, forget all your troubles, and you end up like, you know, staggering around on the street and vomiting when you get home. And but that bit of intoxication where you're sort of purposely sort of putting yourself into some kind of like altered, you know, dulled consciousness. You think, I'm happy now. Yeah, I look forward to that time. That's when I'm really happy. But is that real happiness, or is it you're just dumbing the distress that you're feeling throughout the week? So the question is, what is happiness? How do you measure happiness? What's the benchmark of today's society in terms of happiness? Is there something more to be gained? And is it the fact that a lot of the time what people call happy is not real pro-happiness, but just an absence from the distress that they've been suffering before?
Yeah. What is real happiness then?
What is real happiness?
Yeah.
Very good question. It needs to be experienced. I mean, the Vedic literature says the soul's naturally ananda, full of bliss. I listened to or read a conversation once where someone asked Srila Prabhupada, whose books we're reading, what's the goal of life? And he said the goal of life is to be happy. So everyone's looking for happiness. And that's what everyone's actually searching for. It's natural for the soul, anandamaya vayasat in Sanskrit, to look for pleasure. Everyone's looking for pleasure. But we're just looking for it in the wrong place. And the pleasure that we experience on the material platform, according to, you know, sages and great bhakti yogis, is wretched in comparison to the pleasure it's possible for the soul to experience by engaging in spiritual practices. Now, that's, I think, a lot of devotees like Devamrita Swami, who was like a great yoga teacher, and he's one of our sort of gurus and spiritual masters in Wales. He was saying that he became a Hare Krishna because he was looking for the greatest pleasure. You know, and he saw some video where the Hare Krishnas were saying, oh yeah, we're experiencing bliss, we're so happy chanting and dancing, and he thought, what do these guys know about pleasure? You know, he was like, he fancied himself a real pleasure seeker, a pleasure connoisseur. So he started to delve into Bhakti yoga. And I think that's what a lot of us, myself included, you just want to experience the highest experience, the highest pleasure. That's why I did lots of exploring with other different avenues of pleasure, and you just want to really just taste the bliss and pleasure of life.
Yeah.
And if one really wants to do that, then why I would say, explore Krishna consciousness, explore spiritual life, because the science of experiencing flavors and tastes in this world was thoroughly explored by the ancient sages and yogis of India, and they did a comparative study, and they've promised that actually that pleasure derived from experiencing the spiritual side of life and union with Krishna is so beyond any material pleasure that you can't even actually draw a comparison.
Yeah, that kind of happiness ever increasing, and it gets better and better as well. That's what it's written about.
Anandam Buddhivardhanam in Sanskrit, ever expanding ocean of bliss.
That's what that word Nityananda is, eternal bliss. Yeah, it's pretty nice. You can chant that word.
Nityananda.
No, it's interesting what you said there. Prabhupada said that the purpose for life, the meaning of life, is
to be happy.
To be happy. Yeah. It's like a common question. What's the meaning of life? It's to be happy.
Yeah, the meaning of life is to be happy. Okay, so the question is, was it Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? What's the meaning of life? They found 42.
Yeah.
And then they thought, okay, so the next question is why 42? Yeah. So the meaning of life is to experience pleasure. Okay, now the next question is, how do I experience the topmost pleasure? And that is the meaning, if we get into the notion of the absolute truth and Krishna, why everything exists ultimately is for pleasure, which means love.
Yeah.
People like the idea of that concept. Love is the supreme force and sort of thing that, makes the world go round. And it is, the reason why these things are enacted and why there's activity on the spiritual platform is because it's driven by this spiritual love, which the goal of self-realization is to really experience that, or at least head in that direction.
So how was this? This was, we were talking about being on a boat, the Killers of the Soul.
Yes, then we went back over across the ocean of birth and death.
There's a motorbike.
Yeah. So now we are... there are swine, dogs, camels, asses, etc. whose economic necessities are just as important to them as ours are to us. We were just talking about that, isn't it? But the economic problems of these animals are solved only under nasty and unpleasant conditions. The human being is given all facilities for a comfortable life by the laws of nature, because the human form of life is more important and valuable than animal life.
Wow.
Why is a man given a better life than that of the swine and other animals? Why is a highly placed government servant given better facilities than those of an ordinary clerk? The answer is that a highly placed officer has to discharge duties of a higher nature. Similarly, the duties human beings have to perform are higher than those of animals, who are always engaged in simply feeding their hungry stomachs. Yet the modern, soul-killing civilization has also increased the problems of the hungry stomach. When we approach a polished animal in the form of a modern civilized man and ask him to take interest in self-realization, he will say that he simply wants to work to satisfy his stomach and that there is no need of self-realization for a hungry man. The laws of nature are so cruel, however, that despite his denunciation of the need for self-realization and his eagerness to work hard to fill his stomach, he is always threatened by unemployment. So that's Prabhupada is saying that this human civilization is meant for self-realization. It's not meant for animal life. But today we think we're so advanced, but we're still we're just absorbed in the same basic bodily functions of camels and the swine and the dogs.
I like that phrase polished animal
Yeah.
as well, because it's exactly what you're talking about, like earlier about, you know, a dog might have sex on the street and a human might have it in an apartment, but where's the difference?
Yeah. It's the same thing, just one's polished.
Yeah. So like,
same sensory experience, same as we're going back to the pleasure-seeking nature. You know, so the pleasure we're getting from eating these things and experiencing these things, it's still not far off the realm of the animals. Like Prabhupada says here, the swine,
swine, dog, camel, ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's in the Bhagavatam as well. It goes into more detail, like the ass. You work all day just for a little bit of grass, like in the ass.
Ass, yeah.
The ass,
not arse.
Arse. But yeah, so yeah, this ass, this donkey will carry a load of weight all the way up a mountain, do a ton of work, just for that little bit of grass at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like what you were saying with your friends. You work all week, work your socks off, and then end of the week, get a little bit drunk.
Yeah.
And then start again. Do it again.
Do it again. Live. What's the mantra? Live.
Eat, rave, repeat. No.
Die. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Live, sleep, rave, repeat.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a raver. And then what's the other one? The dogs, the camels, the asses. The camels, they eat broken thorns, isn't it?
Yeah, they chew on thorns.
Yeah.
And the thorns make their gums bleed. And the blood from their own gums tastes a little bit sweet. So they think, oh, this is nice. Yeah.
But actually ripping their mouth to pieces.
Yeah. So similarly, the yogis also say it's like, some people have a type of enjoyment in this world that's actually self-destructive. And you think, oh, this is, the taste, the sweetness that you think you're tasting is actually just you wrecking your own body, mind, I mean, how many pleasurable, quote-unquote, pleasurable things have we done when we were younger that resulted in actually, complete sort of mental and bodily destruction?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And you think, oh, yeah, that was nice. And then, anyone, go out for a night out or whatever, and then during the night or the next morning, you might feel terrible. Or someone takes too many drugs and you think, oh, I'm never doing that again. But pain bears no memory. So therefore you forget the pain and you do it again, and you're just like the camel chewing the thorns and tasting its own blood, and you think, hey, I'm happy, this is great. Yeah. But it only lasts a while, and then when you get a certain age, then you think, well, I'm 30, 35 now. I sort of had my fingers crossed and hoped that, the promises and dreams that I had when I was little would manifest for me. But actually they're not, and life seems to be slipping through my fingers.
It goes real quick, like. And
then you have a whole midlife crisis. You think, what the hell? The hell's going on now? I've wasted my best years of my life, and it's all downhill from here. And then you get people who have face serious mental illnesses, and
which is why, because Prabhupada, it sounds really heavy what you're saying in this purport. You're saying the modern soul killing civilization, but it's if you look at the civilization that we live in from a spiritual perspective, it is just based around sort of gratifying our senses like animals.
There's nothing civil about this civilization.
Yeah. Actually, imagine you could have a society that was just based around, really tapping into that Nityananda, that eternal bliss in the heart. Everyone would be happy and they'd feel content and sort of in flow with the universe. But instead, there's large scale quarrel, isn't it? There's a pinprick in society at large.
Yeah, there's a huge vacuum. That's why that's why hearing this literature, hearing this other perspective of the world is so valuable, because this other perspective is very rarely, if at all, talked about. So we see on the news there's elections, Biden, Trump, everyone's trying to gain power or hold on to power. But for the actual modern civilization, they can't do any good. They're just based their everything just on this one temporary sort of life that is guaranteed to finish in just a few years. And there's no real uplifting of people's sort of consciousness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like that. It's heartbreaking actually. The more, if one be, these sages of India and someone like Srila Prabhupada, or those who we have who are advanced spiritually, people's priorities is just, completely topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
And they are, internally people might want something nice, and like you say to people, what's the most important thing to you? You might say family or something like that, or my loved ones. But the way that society isn't set up to facilitate. It's too much. I saw a program where people say their biggest regrets before they die. They're interviewing these end-of-life nurses. And the end-of-life nurses, they were saying, like, people's regrets are, I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish I didn't work so hard. I wish I spent more time on the things that I loved. So these are the sort of priorities that people, even though they might have, we do need to practically look at our lives and see, okay, am I actually living my life in accord to the same way that I want to and that I value? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is interesting because whenever you ask people on the street, where do you find happiness? A lot of time it is from people. You can hear people out there. But no, because I guess ultimately we know that to find happiness, you have to connect to some kind of spirit, because every other living entity has a spark consciousness in them. You know? But when your priorities are around, like, you never say, what brings you happiness? When I make my body feel happy. You don't really hear that answer. I don't know. It's distracting out there, isn't it? You've got some people tasting some ananda out there, is there? Some real bliss.
So I think we made a good. Do you want one more paragraph? What time? How long have we going, Charlie?
27 minutes.
I think we'll stop there and can finish this next time.
Yeah, why not?
Your art's looking good though, Ben. You're talented. How long do you think it'll be until you finish your wall? Artistic wall. Are you going to post some pictures so anyone listening can hear?
We'll get Charlie to film it now, where it is now, and it'll be inserted over here. Yeah. So for people who are listening, go and have a look on YouTube.
And it's meant to be the universal form, right?
Yeah, the universal form is like in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he sees the universal form, Krishna shows him, and it's like the whole universe. How do you explain it?
It's like Krishna manifesting the material universe, so like a way to see the world connected to Krishna. So what the trees are his...
The trees are his hairs, the rivers are his veins. What was it? There's loads. Like the Vedic hymns are his surface of his body, and
the sun and the moon are his eyes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's quite trippy. Yeah. It'd be like trippy trips. Nice one.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. This has been the Welsh Yogi podcast, and hope to see you soon in Cafe Atma.
Yeah, check it out.
And give us some feedback. Let us know. We're going to finish next week. We will finish Mantra 3.
Yeah, unless we get Tarkanath on. We're trying to get.
Oh yeah, we're going to have a guest today, Tarkanath.
I thought all the stars had aligned because it's today. It's the 11th of the 11th, and this is our 11th episode.
Yeah.
So it's 1-1-1-1-1-1, but unlucky.
Yeah, Tarkanath's above all those things, isn't he?
Yeah, he's beyond the angels.
Yeah. It'd be good to get him on because he is someone who's seriously practiced.
Yeah.
Bhakti yoga, with his wonderful family, and he's really he's very nice. He's probably he's up there in the top 3 sort of most beautiful people I've ever met in my life. And it would be nice to get him on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joy.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bhadashikshana Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Bhadashikshana Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Shri Advaita Radha Shivasari Govapanna